you are sitting here going, yeah, great guys, training for my all year round body, but I'm going on holiday in 4 weeks. Yeah, you want to feel great, you want to look great, but actually you can achieve both at once. And I think there's often this presentation of, if you want to achieve results fast, this is what you need to do. If you want to be healthy, this is what you need to do. And then I kind of seen there's two different things.
You can do both.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not sexy and it doesn't sell. Summer is finally here. Finally. I mean, it might not be the same way you are, but I've been waiting for about 3 months for the sun to come out. I feel, well, probably longer, but I expected it to start coming out 3 months ago.
Yeah, I was lucky this year. I skipped summer. I skipped winter. A little bit. I didn't skip summer. I've come back for summer.
Yeah, you went to Australia, didn't you?
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah, so December through till basically March. Last day of Feb I come back.
Nice.
Which was nice. Yeah.
But the point of today's episode is, with summer looming or appearing, finally, there's all these different pressures that we put on our bodies, and there's all these new concerns we don't have to worry about in the winter, like, oh, I'm really hot, but I don't want to get my arms out because I don't like my arms. I'm gonna wear the shorts, or I'm not gonna wear the shorts.
Yep.
Also more social events to kind of juggle. So we wanted to have a chat today about it because we've had so many clients where in the past that kind of pressure has just led to them feeling down or frustrated, or maybe kick-started them trying to get healthy, maybe lose a bit of weight. And there's nothing wrong with that, but should that be the reason why you feel like you have to lose weight to have a summer body? That's like a big thing that's kind of a discussion point around on social media. And we're just going to talk as well about, like, if that is something that you want to do, like, what are the best ways to go about it? Because people tap into this concept all the time, and you might see diet plans out there, or, you know, quick fix promises. But we're going to cut the BS on that. Like, does it actually work? What should you do instead? What's realistic? So yeah, coming back to, like, it being a Kickstarter for a lot of people, one study I found said that 2/3 of women go on a diet before a vacation. So it's not just like,
I don't think that's surprising though, is it? Like, unless you're like completely content with how you walk around all the time, then maybe, because it's like you're not walking around in a bikini all the time.
No.
So, you know, there is that side of it, and if you're just maybe carrying like 5 or 10 pounds of extra body fat, but you feel great, you feel fine with that, but, you know, you want to put a bikini on and look a bit better, I don't think there's anything extrinsically wrong with that.
No, I'm definitely feeling in that space, because I've just been away and I feel like I put a little bit of weight on when I was away, and we're going away again in 6 weeks. So I totally get that. Yeah.
So I think it's fine. I think it's where if you're going on it's whether it just creates a diet roller coaster. So if you just create a, like, this is going to be like a all or nothing approach 6 weeks before this vacation or holiday, and you're just going to go like pedal to the metal and just be super restrictive and do all the exercise, and when you get to the trip, and then probably like day one of the trip, you've already gained like 5 pounds back because you just slammed and ate and drank everything on day one. And I think that kind of plays into that like restrict and binge cycle that people can have. And then after day one, you feel horrendous because you're probably extremely bloated, carrying a lot of water, a bit relieved that maybe the 6 weeks of intensiveness, that's even a friggin' word, has kind of ended. So yeah, it's that famous word, which is like, it's a balance, but like you've got to find what that balance looks like for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think being realistic about that, maybe 6 weeks or whatever your time scale is, like what you can actually achieve in a way that doesn't drive you up the wall to extremes, is really important.
That's tough, isn't it?
It is super hard, because this study I found was like, most people want to lose around 8 pounds. Like the average was 8 pounds before they get to like the day they go on vacation.
Yeah.
And if you've only given yourself 6 weeks, it is doable in a healthy way, but only if you've got the right strategies and tools. And a lot of people think it has to be a lot more complicated than it actually does. So if you think, I've got 8 pounds to lose in 6 weeks, it can feel like, right, I need to go really hard here.
Yeah, and what's that? It's a little bit more than £1 a week. So, you know, probably a deficit of 650 calories a day. So like achievable for a lot of people, with it not having to just completely overhaul your life. But again, it just depends what approach that you take. You know, there's a lot of stereotypes that like no carbs before marbs, and you know, like you just and sometimes people will do that. They'll cut carbohydrates before a holiday, and maybe that is a good strategy for you because it helps you cut down calories. But then just the caveat to that is always when you introduce carbs again, you will instantly just like put on a couple of pounds straight away and probably feel a little bit more bloated.
Which we must explain is not that you've put body fat on.
No, you're just holding on to more water, more stored glycogen.
Because to digest carbs, your body needs to hold more water to be able to digest it.
Yeah, that's if you ever want to understand why carbs get such a bad rap, it's that like people cut carbs, and a lot of the foods that they're eating that have got carbohydrates in have also probably got a lot of fat in too. So by cutting carbs, you put yourself into a massive calorie deficit, and then you also probably aren't as bloated if you're just eating like a high protein, high fat diet. So you drop you don't feel as bloated. You lose the stored energy in the muscles, the glycogen. You lose a lot of water weight, and within like 2 weeks, you can see like a huge scale decrease. But then typically people don't keep it up because guess what? People like carbs, and they're like our main energy source. So then people start eating carbs again. I mean, they have a little bit because they've broke that rule of not doing it for 2 weeks, and they have a little bit more. And then they jump on the scales the next day and they've jumped up 5-6 pounds. And they're like, oh my God, this is why I should never eat carbs. And it just reaffirms that belief that carbs are the devil. And when I don't eat carbs, I lose weight really fast. And when I eat carbs, I gain weight really fast. And in reality, like you're just manipulating the amount of water that your body's carrying and stored energy. And you may possibly put yourself into a massive calorie deficit. So the kind of takeaway point of that is like, if it's not sustainable and you just keep ending up on that pattern, it's not carbs that are the devil and the problem. It's the strategies that you're choosing. Yeah,
and it's also that keto diet or whatever you want to call it wasn't actually causing you to lose body fat, which is what people are saying they want when they want to lose 8 pounds. It's not that they just want to lose 8 pounds of anything.
Yeah.
What they really mean is I want to lose 8 pounds of body fat.
Yeah.
So we're going to get onto what the shoulds and the should nots to do that in a bit. But I just wanted to come to this kind of concept of like a summer body. And there's a really great Instagram account that we reshare some of her content sometimes, which I absolutely love. One of her quotes is, am I training for a summer body? Hell no, I'm training for my old lady body.
Yeah.
And I think that just captures it so well of like, actually, if you are in the mindset of like training for health and looking after your body all year round because you've got like a bigger goal and a bigger picture, summer body doesn't really come into it that much because it's like your all year round body.
Yeah, it's like finite and infinite games. So finite goals are going to be you're choosing to get in shape for summer or a very finite occasion or a holiday, versus like an infinite goal would be like I'm choosing to be the healthiest, fittest version of me for as long as I possibly can. They're very different like goals to aim for. One is very extrinsic to an extent, and one's very intrinsic. So it's just it's defining like what you want. If you keep going for the finite short goals, you're gonna expect to be on a roller coaster of up and down, up and down, up and down. If you are wanting to have a little bit more like consistency and I'd probably say sanity around your health, you want to look at those infinite goals where you're playing the game of health, and that is to get as healthy as you can and to stay as healthy as you can for as long as possible. It's like the game of business is to keep playing the game of business. It's not to just make all this money and then sell. Some people do that, of course, which is like a strategy that they choose to, but like the businesses that stand the longest test of time, the 100-year-old businesses, they are just focusing often on customer service, customer products. How can we make the product better? How can it stand out more? Like they're constantly just looking to continue that service and business. And again, they're playing an infinite game instead of like, hey, how can we just like do loads of marketing, sell this product as much as we can and inflate our numbers and then just sell and get out. And those businesses like crash and burn. Same with your health. Same in relationships, marriage. Like the goal isn't to like get married for summer, is it?
or have a wedding day and then like that's the end.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's the beginning. I think actually that's a really nice way to look at a summer body goal, because if you are sitting here going, yeah, great guys, training for my all year round body, but I'm going on holiday in 4 weeks, maybe think of it as your wedding day. And you want to feel great, you want to look great, but actually there's a whole like lifetime after that with your husband or with your body. So how do you approach it with that in mind? Because you can achieve both at once. And I think there's often this presentation of if you want to achieve results fast, this is what you need to do. If you want to be healthy, this is what you need to do. And they're like kind of seen as two different things.
You can do both.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not sexy and it doesn't sell.
It's not sexy and it doesn't sell. Like at the moment, I would say I am optimizing for health. I regularly train, I try to manage my stress, I eat overall well. But if I think we're going to go to Italy in August, which will be lovely. And I already said to Steph, I was like, should we do like a bit of a cut or just get like a little bit leaner before we go? Like just haven't really had a proper vacation like that in ages where we're taking some time off. And we're like, yeah, sure. So, maybe like 4 weeks before, I will knock things up a notch, but nothing drastic. I'll just pull my calories back a little bit more, maybe increase my protein and fiber. And I will just add in I'll probably set a step goal higher than what I'm currently doing now, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 steps, and I will just be militant not to miss that. And I'm basically eating less, moving more. I'll lose a bit of body fat over the 4 weeks period, and I'll be like, cool.
Yeah. Which is easier for you because you've got that baseline.
Yes, of course.
But I think it's important to say, our clients do follow that exact same framework and they lose 5 to 10 pounds a month, which for most people would say, hey, if I could lose 5 to 10 pounds in 4 weeks before my vacation, I'd be happy. And
5 to 10 pounds of body fat. If anyone's, I know people can't, if they're listening, 5 pounds of body fat looks like that. It's significant. Now you're just like, well, can that just come off my stomach? And it's like, no. But you are losing that amount.
Well, a good way to imagine it is bags of flour or bags of sugar, I think, because actually if you stacked up 2 bags of sugar and you lost that, that's quite a lot.
It is, yeah.
But you don't think of it as much when it's just numbers on a scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also if you're losing 5 pounds over a month and you're looking at yourself every single day, you don't visually notice this because it's come a little bit off your arms, a little bit off your stomach, a little bit off your legs, a little bit off your bum. So it's coming off all these different areas, and because you're looking at yourself every single day, getting dressed in the mirror, so on and so forth, you don't see those changes. But if that scale is coming down, that body fat and that weight is coming off as well. So it's important to keep that in mind. I think that's why measurements and progress photos can be really helpful to help you see that change.
Yeah. So if somebody has got, let's say 6 weeks, let's stick with 6 weeks, to go till their vacation, what would you advise them to do if they're like, do you know what, I would love to lose 7 to 8 pounds to feel great on my vacation? We'll deal with why you maybe don't even need to lose weight in a minute.
Okay.
But what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing to control here is going to be your calories and your energy balance. So, the amount of output you've got to do to burn calories it's very time consuming. It's much easier to cut calories to an extent. Now, you can cut calories without even necessarily cutting calories. You could actually just increase your protein intake and decrease the amount of carbohydrates and fat that you've got. And just because protein is more thermic, you will feel more satiated and burn more calories. So that's an easy one where you could kind of increase your protein a little bit, maybe drop your calories by a couple of hundred, and that's a kind of a good sweet spot there.
And if they want to find out where to get the calories,
they can go over to bodysmartfitness.com and click calorie quiz. Take our quiz and it'll give you the goals. And we've got your maintenance, and then it has weight loss, which is 500 calories, and then extreme weight loss, which is 1,000 calories, which would put you on track to lose 2 pounds a week on average, which, that isn't typically going to be the right strategy for a lot of people. If you've got a lot of weight to lose, it's easier to create 1,000 calorie deficit.
Or if you're very active.
If you're very active, you walk the dog 3 times a day, you've got a manual based job. Like one of my sister's boyfriend does 45,000 steps a day in the job that he's in. It's very, very active, so for him, 1,000 calorie a day deficit would be much more achievable because he's so active. Sometimes I've not even done 45,000 steps in a week when it's being super busy. So again, it's a balance, and it's finding what's going to work for you. So yeah, cutting back your calories, but trying to make sure that you're still having lots of food, so you don't, again, have that mindset that you're on a diet. Increasing your steps if you can, if you've got the time to, and that's even just by 1,000 extra a day is going to have a little bit of an impact. The more that you can do there, the better. And sometimes it's not a case of right, say I do 8,000 steps a day. All right, I can't go to 9 every day, but on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, I can do a long walk and do 15 or 20,000. Great, you're just overall increasing your energy expenditure for the week. And then when it comes to your workouts, most of the time, if you want to make sure you're doing strength training, so you are maximizing fat loss when you lose that 8 pounds. You can add a little bit of cardio into the end of the session. So you could do, 20 minutes on cross trainer or the bike or an incline walk, something that's going to get your heart rate up. Again, and all you're doing here is just manipulating energy expenditure. If you haven't got the time to do more workouts and more steps, the easier lever to pull is to reduce your calorie intake.
But just a word of caution there, because that's what a lot of these plans you'll see online or in magazines and stuff is very, very much around manipulating calorie intake. And I know from personal experience, if you go too far relying on the food, it's very hard to stick with. So if you're trying to create a 500 calorie deficit and your maintenance is like 1600, you're only trying to eat 1100 calories. It's very hard to stick with that. So I would always advise, if possible, up your activity to contribute to that calorie deficit, because otherwise it does become quite difficult to stick out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's finding that sweet spot and that balance for you as well. I understand, like, and again, if you go, well, I don't want to eat 11 or 1200 calories, I want to and I don't want to do more activity, you know, how important is your goal? that's kind of what you're going to come to, because there's got to be sacrifice to an extent, and it's even whether you determine it as sacrifice as well. But you're
I think that's a really good point that we should go a bit deeper on, is like, how much does this really matter? And like, why are you feeling like you need to lose weight for your holiday?
Yeah.
So I was going to comment it later, but this is a good segue.
Okay.
So I think there is a lot of pressure that is external that becomes internalized, that we look at everyone else's social media accounts and we see all these perfectly posed pictures of other people whose job it is to look good on holiday in bikinis, and then we think, oh God, we need to look like that in bikinis on holiday.
Yeah.
And we put this pressure on ourselves. And if there's that external driver of your goal, it's not actually something that's deeply important to you. It's just a should. It's going to be very hard to follow through. And I think it's really important that if you're sitting here before you listen to the episode with that mindset of, right, we're going on holiday, I should probably lose a few pounds, actually interrogate where that came from and see, like, should you lose a few pounds? Or actually, if you just focus on feeling your best and making some decisions for the next couple of weeks of like moving a bit more, eating foods that you know make you feel full of energy, not bloated, not tired, would that actually make you enjoy your holiday more than losing weight?
I agree with what you're saying. I can also just know, like, well, I'm going away with the girls and they're all in great shape, so I need to be in great shape, and I just want to look good in a bikini. And you know, that's like all these like toxic terms, like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, or a good eye roll for that. But stuff like this does get said, and people are willing to be like, well, I need to fit in with the group. I don't want to be the fat one. I don't want to feel like this. I will do whatever it takes. And you know, that's like, it's often just a very painful experience for people to go through these like 6-week extreme diets, less than 1,000 calories a day, 20,000 steps, cardio. You know, it's just, and it's, people do it, and then it's like, it's almost like the fakeness of it, of like, you've just hated to do that, to go make sure you feel comfortable enough to get photos. It's not good. And then what happens? You're like, God, is that what being healthy and exercise feels like? Because who can do that long term? It's like, it's just like, not me would probably be the answer.
It's very damaging.
Yeah, it is, especially if that's like the cycles that you keep going through.
But I totally relate to what you're saying, because I went to Ibiza a couple of years ago for a wedding, and it was like the hen party was at Ocean Beach Club Ibiza, which is like very trendy, and like I'm late 30s now, and I felt like I was a bit old. So I didn't feel pressure to like be skinny, but I was like, I need to be in good shape. Like I need to be like quite toned and like look like my job is being a personal trainer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so that was a very different build up to a vacation compared to this year. I'm going to a campsite in France with my small child, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm a little bit more fluffy than normal, but
yeah, it obviously matters, you know what I mean, in terms of like where you are. Like when I've been in California for a long period of time, or even been in Ibiza for long periods of time, if you are in places where there's that like almost like pressure on how you look, like you do feel it. And I think that's what people do feel like when they're going on these trips, is that they do feel the pressure to get in shape. But it's put on that timeline of like 6 weeks. Like you can go no matter what shape you're in and have a great time. Like there is that, and you know, if your friends are going to pass judgment on like how you look and how you feel, like.
But do you know what? I don't think it's the friends that's a problem. It's us as ourselves being the biggest bitch in the room.
What, in what sense?
Like, women are the worst critics of themselves. It's not their friends.
Yeah.
It's,
and
it's what they think that their friends might say, because what they're saying to themselves in the mirror.
Yeah, and I'd probably, I don't know if people, I relate to that because I have been that person to myself. Even when I've looked back on some photos and gone like, oh my God, like I wish I was in that shape now in terms of like how lean I used to try and get. But it was from me just crucifying myself in terms of how I felt like I needed to look in terms of just body composition. Thankfully, like worked way through past that now. But like, yeah, you are your own worst critic. And I guess that just kind of comes back to, you've got to be proud of yourself. I think that's just like honestly what, like, if you're truly like proud and confident within yourself, it's so much easier to like brush off maybe somebody's stereotypes or whatever else. You can, and also just accepting like if someone takes like a bad photo of you from a bad angle, like we can all look shit. we can all have roles. We can all pull horrible faces and look like that. You know what I mean? Like it happens to the most attractive people in the world. Like and it's like, I think sometimes people see like side image of themselves or don't like the way they look or a certain photo on a table, and they just again crucify themselves of this one snapshot of this like one moment. And I've spoke to so many clients with like, I was having a great evening when I seen that photo, and it just and now all I remember is like that photo of that great evening, because it's not a great evening anymore. It's just a bad evening because I look horrendous in that photo, and it's such a shame of the memories that it's robbing people of and women of. And yeah, you've really got to change, because I just.
But
like,
change inside as well is the important bit. Like,
yeah.
You can lose to 8 pounds, but if you haven't done that inner work, you're still going to shoot yourself down when you see a picture potentially. Still not going to be good enough, because it's never good enough.
I speak to my mum about this, and my mum's like, what, 63 now? And like a couple of months ago, we were like looking back through this Ibiza again, photo album of her and my dad going, and they've got all the old like Polaroid photos and whatever else. And my mum's 5'7". She was like bang on about 10 stones, like 140 pounds, so slim. And she's like, oh my God, she's looking back at that in like awe of how she looked. But she was telling me how she just, even then, didn't feel like that. She felt like she was too big, she was tall. And I was like, why? Like, where's that come from? You know, and she's looking back and going, I wish I could have just enjoyed it more, because it was such a great time. And I just had this inner critic in my head around how I looked and how I felt. And I've spoken to so many of our clients over the years who feel like that too. And I don't know if I guess I wish for a lot of people, like, you just please don't wait till you're 60 to look back on some photos and be like, I wish I'd just been able to be more present and enjoy myself, because life goes so fast. Like, it goes so fast. And I think anytime you have those like near death experience or someone close to you dies, it kind of just puts everything back in perspective. And it's like, sometimes it's like, what are you stressing about? Like, you're away with your friends and your family. You're hopefully on a nice beach somewhere or enjoying yourself. Like, just breathe.
I think that's a really good angle to take from it. And it's a tactic that I often get clients to use when we're talking about going out for meals. But we could use it in the same situation with going for a holiday. Is like, write out on a piece of paper, what about this holiday vacation is going to make you happy? And it will be things like feeling the sun on my skin, trying lots of nice different foods, spending quality time with my family. Is looking nice in a picture on that list? Probably not. Like, maybe capturing a few family moments on camera might be on the list. And yes, you might want to feel nice, but it won't be number 1, 2, or 3 for most people. And I think when you literally write it out in black and white and put it in perspective of what are the things that I'm actually going to like look forward to and enjoy on this trip, it then makes you think, well, why am I spending all this mental energy worrying about something that's like number 11 on the list? Like, why don't I pour my energy into making sure all those other things are as good as they can possibly be?
Yeah, it's, again, and it's not to tell anyone like what their priority should be. If you want to also look good in the photos and that's an important thing to you too, fine, you know what I mean? I think that's probably to an extent, if 2/3 of people are saying that they want to lose weight before a holiday. But like we've just kind of admitted to it. And again, it's to what extremes as well. I think it comes
But it's
down
not, I think it's also like, is it going to ruin my holiday if I don't lose 4 pounds? No. Like there might be moments where I'm sat by the pool and look down at my tummy and think, really should have made a bit more of an effort here. But I'm not going to not go to the pool. I'm not going to not enjoy the food. And I think it's when it crosses that line of it actually affects whether you are going to enjoy it or not. Then, do you know what? Probably taking the advice of what we talked about earlier and actually taking some action is definitely what you need to do to be able to be confident. But doing that in a way that isn't going to ruin the 6 weeks before, because then you've got 6 weeks of misery for 1 week of fun. So it's like, it is that balance.
If you already got yourself to what you deem as like a healthy body, healthy weight, 6 weeks, which would be an ample enough runway for anyone to get like as lean as they would want to be prior without it like having to completely, overhaul their life and do something like completely extreme. If that's not the case, I think just managing the expectation of like 6 weeks probably isn't a long enough runway. Try 6 months, try 2 years, depending on where your starting point is. And just like managing the expectation around that, because if you're looking to lose 40 pounds in 6 weeks, you're just like setting yourself up for a lot of pain and misery and failure. So it's just managing that. It's you to go, hey, I'm going to lose that 40 pounds over the next year. It's like, fantastic. That 40 pounds will come off. You'll be able to reverse diet, learn to maintain. And then when it comes to that holiday, like next year, it's just, even if you've got that holiday that year, it doesn't mean that, again, you can't enjoy it. Like, it's just...
But, you're saying 40 pounds, to somebody listening might be like, well, that, of course that's wild. You're not going to lose 40 pounds in 6 weeks. But literally one of the summer body diets that I came across online was promising 8 to 12 pounds in 2 weeks. So if you did that back to back, it's basically claiming you can lose 40 pounds in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably be spending half your day on the toilet, shitting yourself, and probably, you know what I mean, and just not eating. Yeah, and like you're like, well, you're probably not gonna be able to focus on work. You're probably not gonna be able to focus on your family. Like it's like anytime you typically read a diet, like you can lose this amount of weight in this amount of time, like 14 days to shred 10 pounds. Like it's probably bullshit. And I actually want to list some of the things that it tells you to do, because we need to cut the BS on some of this. Okay.
So 1, eat only fruit until 11:30 a.m. It's easier to digest if it's eaten on its own. Digestive havoc is the enemy of fat loss. Okay,
wow. Only fruit till 11:30. I mean, that's actually like a terrible strategy. I think if I just ate fruit but only till 11:30 a.m., it's going to spike your blood sugar and I'll probably be really hungry for my next meal.
Yeah.
And early as well.
So they would say that. We would say, have some protein with your breakfast.
Yeah.
Have some fruit by all means, but have some protein and probably some healthy fats with it as well. So maybe some Greek yogurt with your fruit.
Yeah. And maybe a bit of protein powder or something else.
And it won't cause you digestive havoc.
Digestive havoc does not sound...
What even is that?
I have no idea. It doesn't sound fun, does it? You know what I mean? If anyone's had IBS or digestive havoc in the past, it's not a fun place to be.
That's what they're saying will happen if you eat anything other than fruit.
Wow. Well, yeah, it says...
Next up, after your only fruit until 11:30 a.m, you can have a bowl of soup at lunchtime and a plate of salad.
Lovely. Yeah. I mean, my stomach's feeling empty just listening to this. You know what I mean?
Then you can have a proper dinner, but only have carbs before 6 p.m.
Okay.
Unless you exercise in the evening, and then you can have some sweet potatoes, beans, or lentils.
Well, what time do you go to bed?
Me, 9.
So I'm like 10 till 11. So does the 6 p.m. rule still apply to both of us?
Good point. Well made.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? The whole idea of setting a rule in place to when you should stop eating at the end of the day can be successful for some people, in the sense of like, if you say, hey, I'm going to stop eating altogether at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., like, probably not a bad thing. It's going to improve the quality of your sleep because your body's not having to digest all this food when you're lying down. So it's going to help the quality of your sleep. But also, like, people aren't slamming back a tub of Ben & Jerry's at 7 a.m. It's typically at 7, 8, and 9 p.m. in front of the TV. So if you have a bit of a food rule in place in terms of like, I'm going to typically try to stop eating 3 hours before I go to bed, that's going to improve your sleep. And it's typically going to be the time that you might overindulge on, you know.
It's the type of food as well, isn't it? That's related to that time of day. This is an interesting myth to bust, actually, because I have had a client say to me before, yeah, but, you know, of course, if I go to bed with that food just all in my stomach, it's just going to go straight on. I'm going to put it straight on.
No, that's bullshit. I mean, so the only way you're going to gain excess body fat is by consuming excess amount of calories. So you have to consume more calories than you burn. And just to put this out there, I have eaten like 2,000 calories and then gone to bed 30 minutes later. If I weighed myself in the morning, I weighed more. But guess what? Because I ate 2,000 calories right before I went to bed. I've been weighing myself, which I just the curiosity at the start and the end of the day. And I typically drop around 3.5 pounds while I sleep.
Yeah,
so
because you metabolize so much.
Yeah, and I'm just like dropping a little bit of water. And the times that I eat earlier, it's actually ends up being more, like 4 pounds. So it's just like that's a huge swing, but that's just, I'm not the smallest person in the world either, but that's like interesting to see. But yeah, if I were to eat right before I go to bed, like probably way more before I go to bed and then way more again when I wake up. But yeah, the only way you're going to gain body fat and excess body fat is by consuming more calories than you burn.
Ever wondered why losing weight seems so hard after you hit 30? You're not alone. At Body Smart, we specialise in helping women like you over the age of 30 to lose 30 to 60 pounds in less than 6 months, guaranteed. And that's without restrictive diets or endless hours in the gym. Our approach works because it's delivered through customised, direct, one-on-one coaching. Your coach will tailor a fully personalised plan that fits into your life, focusing on sustainable habits, not temporary fixes. On average, our clients lose 5 to 10 pounds a month, and that's not an outlier. That's what you can expect to achieve month in, month out. And yes, these results are guaranteed. Ready to see for yourself? Visit bodysmartfitness.com to apply. Remember, we're here exclusively for women over 30 who are serious about taking charge of their health. Apply at bodysmartfitness.com.
Let's also just, on the same vein, cut the BS on the myth of like, if you eat carbs or something like that and you don't exercise straight away, you're just going to store those calories as energy.
You literally can only eat refined sugar. Like, you'd probably throw up.
Just like spoons of it.
Yeah, the spoons of sugar, because you know sugar's the devil and sugar's the worst thing, and carbs and all that. And if you don't eat more calories from the sugar than you burn, you will lose weight. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to gain weight. It's just wild. Like you can eat the most unhealthy diet in the world. If you consume fewer calories than you burn, you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
We're not advising to do that.
No. But you don't need to worry if you're going to have some bread at 8 p.m. and not exercise. Oh my God,
I have an ice cream every day, like at 7, 8 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not just like, the ice cream isn't just like melting into body fat.
No. One thing I think that's really helpful to understand the concept is like we have created this idea of when you're on a diet, you've got like your calorie allowance for the day. Your body doesn't have an off switch at midnight where it resets itself to 0.
It does on MyFitnessPal.
It does on MyFitnessPal. But in reality, you know what? Your body doesn't know that it's now Wednesday. And so actually, if we zoom out and we look at the week, does your body know that you had that granola bar at 8 p.m? Is that relevant in the whole scheme of the week? Not really. So if you were eating within your calories for the whole week, it doesn't matter at what time of day. And I think that's something that can be a real game changer if you stop looking at things in terms of like a single standalone day and you start zooming out to like, okay, what was the week like? Did I hit my nutrition goals for the week? It can make a lot of these stupid food rules sound as stupid as they are.
Definitely. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I've got one final one that I just have to read out because I was like, okay. Eat something every 2 to 3 hours to keep the fat-burning furnace firing all day.
So this was a big myth for like a long period of time, which is like you got to eat 6 more meals a day to keep your metabolism revved up. I can give you the science explanation of this. So there's around 10% of the calories from food we burn on something called the thermic effect of food. And that's if you've ever felt cold before and then you eat something when you feel a bit warm and fuzzy. That's
like meat sweats.
Well, that's like a really extreme version. Yeah, or even getting a food coma. That's like thermogenesis happening. That's your body using energy to digest the food that you've just consumed. So it's typically for most people around 10% of the calories that they eat. So if you eat 2,000 calories in a day, around 200 of that is coming from the thermic effect of food. Now, people were saying, hey, well, if you eat small and often, what's happening is thermogenesis is happening constantly throughout the day. So if you have, 5 meals that are all like 500 calories, there's 50 calories of thermogenesis happening throughout the day. You're like, okay, yeah, great, I'm burning calories, and my furnace is on fire all day. But then if you just eat the 2,000 calories in the one meal, it burns the same amount of calories. So it doesn't matter whether you have 6 meals or 3 meals or 2 meals. The only time it really would be something that you'd want to focus on if you were trying to be like the most optimal person in the world for trying to build muscle, you would want to try and space out the amount of protein that you have throughout the day. But honestly, I feel like that's just for bodybuilders. Anytime somebody asks me about this, I'm like, just focus on getting your total protein goal in each day and you're fine. But yeah, as for speeding up your metabolism, doing small and often, not the case. Like if you do it in 6 meals or 1 meal or 2 meals or 3 meals, it's the same. It's the way you actually increase the amount of calories that you spend on the thermic effect of food is to eat more protein. Protein's got a higher thermic value, and to eat more whole foods. Whole foods require more energy for the body to digest. And if you just think about this from a really simplistic way, if you got a slab of steak, like a real steak, versus what's like the most processed version of protein, probably like protein powder.
Like a hot dog.
Oh yeah, like a hot dog. Yeah,
It's just like mush.
Yeah, like it's going to require more energy for your body to break down and digest a steak than it is from a hot dog. And you just take every version of, like a potato versus a chip or a crisp, or that's what the Americans say, isn't it?
Yeah.
We say crisps, they say chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would basically go, if you to go from a processed version of a potato, the least processed version is a potato. The next on that is going to be French fries or chips, and then the next one after that is going to be crisps or chips, and that's just like following it through. So it's like, yeah, super processed, doesn't take a lot of energy to digest, as natural as it can get, and whole foods going to require more energy. So that's like a real easy hack of like how you burn more calories without eating less food.
Yeah, and actually you can often eat more food.
Eating more, yeah, because you're burning calories.
Double win.
Yeah.
So what would actually be realistic, not this 8 to 12 pounds in 2 weeks, what would be realistic if somebody was to just eat more whole foods, hit the calorie goal, do maybe like 8 to 10K steps a day, couple of workouts a week? What would you say to set someone's expectations up to be healthy and do it in a manageable way? How much?
So if you've been at maintenance and you're about to step into this, some people can see a bit of a bigger drop in week 1. And that's often because you are losing a bit of water weight too. So, you're probably you could aim to lose like 1 to 2 pounds of fat. So over those 2 weeks, you could say there's 2 to 4 pounds. Maybe on top of that, there could be anywhere from like 1 to 3 pounds of fat. So I would say
water.
Of water, sorry. Yeah. So, in 2 weeks, like a minimum of like 3 pounds could maybe come off. And like at the max, it could be like 8 pounds, and 3 of that being water.
Yeah.
Or 3 to 4 of that being water.
Which actually, if someone knew they could lose 8 pounds in 2 weeks in a healthy way, even though some of it's water, I think that sounds a lot more appealing than that list of crazy ideas that I just read out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you'll feel like a normal human still. You know what I mean? You're not gonna, like, that is the thing when I'm sure every person who's been on an extreme diet can relate, is like week 1 motivation's high, I'm gonna do it, this time's gonna be different, or maybe not. Sometimes you just feel like sad that you're even having to do this again. But like the week 1, you're kind of just plowing through, and then like I swear, like most people, like week 2 kicks in, and it's like, I hate my life, because probably every hormone and signal is going off in your body, just like stop, I'm hungry, eat. And it's just loud, and it just doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other flip side is when you do get on vacation, if you've done it in this more moderate way, you don't have that massive rebound of like, finally it's over, and going a bit wild, like you said. So
I used to do quite aggressive cuts, let's say, for holidays, and I found that I was basically binging on day 1 and would just like undo like 2 weeks of progress in a day. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, what's the point in that? So now, if I haven't done anything like this in years, but typically the way I got around it was actually like 3 days before I'd go up to maintenance. So I'd actually set my end day 3 days before I'd get on the plane.
I think that's a really good
idea.
idea.
Then that way I would just take it back up to maintenance. I'd eat like normal. And when I get in the airport, I could have a glass of wine or, like a couple of beers, but I wasn't going into the airport like, I'm done, I'm ravenous. You know what I mean? It's just like, give me the airport food, give me it on the plane. And it's just, I just like lost that. So now I'm like, hey, I actually got myself into the shape I wanted to. and I'm going away and I'm enjoying the food more because I'm not like super hungry because I've had 3 days to like level things back out.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other key thing to remember is, like I mentioned earlier, if you're doing it in a healthy way and you're making healthier choices, you're also going to feel like less bloated, more like maybe your skin's better because you're eating better. I don't know, you've maybe been drinking less alcohol. Like all of these things have been making you feel better. It's not just the fact that the scale has gone down. If you then go on holiday and you go back to eating the same kinds of foods, maybe more processed foods, alcohol, eating late at night, waking up feeling bloated, it is going to feel like you've undone all your hard work overnight. And you haven't, but it is a really important thing to keep in mind. Like those choices were making you feel good, and it wasn't really just the weight loss, it was those choices. So something that makes a big difference for me now is definitely alcohol and certain foods. Like my tummy just like blows up with certain foods. And if I want to feel my best when I'm away, actually just going, I'm away, free for all, and eating all of the things and drinking all of the things, I feel awful, even if I put loads of work into like lose weight the couple of weeks before. So I think it's really important to bear that in mind as well. If you are thinking, well, I want to feel a certain way by the pool, your choices on holiday matter as much.
Yeah, I typically, when I go away, sometimes I'll either eat like twice a day because we're just doing so much. And like I try to like really control what I'm maybe having for my breakfast because I want to have something that's like going to nourish my body and make me feel good. Get loads of protein in. I don't want to feel like sluggish or tired. And then typically like dinners where I'll have a dessert and a couple of glasses of wine or a few beers and stuff. Like I'll let myself a little bit more loose because the knock-on effect of if I do feel a bit like sluggish after that, I'm not too bothered. Like it's the end of the day in that sort of sense. But like I completely agree. Like even when I travel, you know, I'm always trying to control my nutrition, not even because of how I look, literally because it's how I will feel. Like if I want to like perform my best when I'm like traveling on business or we're doing certain things, like I'm trying to be as mindful as possible with the food choices that I'm making, just because it like short term, it definitely affects how you feel and think and then behave. Like mid term, it's going to affect your body composition and how you look. And then long term, it's going to literally lead to like health outcomes, you know, and that whether like disease becomes something that you face earlier than you would maybe like to. So, you know, it really is a balance. And I think you've just got to, I guess it's going away with intention of like what type of holiday you want to have. You know what I mean?
And knowing your body well enough to know like, oh, this kind of food makes me feel good. This kind of food makes me feel sluggish. If I eat really late, this is how I'll feel. Yeah. My sleep will be affected. If you know those things about yourself because you've been, you know, doing this in a sensible way and you've figured it out along the way, you're going to be more empowered to apply those things even when you're away. Yeah. And the other thing we have just touched on there is sleep. So other basics like sleep and water have a huge effect on how you're going to feel and how you're going to look as well.
I'd definitely, if you go into a hot country, like I found I used to still be like drinking maybe the same amount or maybe drinking more, but I'd be sweating so much. So sometimes I would just actually have like sachets of electrolytes, and that made a significant difference because I always exercise when I'm away, just because it keeps the crazy talk from my mind. It just keeps it down there. So you know, like even like Steph likes to exercise just because it makes you feel better, but like she could not exercise for the week while away and just feel fine. So like sometimes I just wake up before and I'll go and exercise and get it done before I've kind of come back. But again, I'm doing that because it makes me feel my best. Yeah, that's kind of the driver behind it, not necessarily from like a looks sort of standpoint. It's just going.
I totally agree. I just feel like a bit like sluggish and like that there's energy that's just built up after like 3 or 4
and
days.
I feel like that even more, like if I'm eating, so I'm away and I'm eating more calories and I'm drinking more alcohol, like it becomes even more important for me to exercise, just because it kind of, I don't really like to say this, it just like it just makes me feel like light and washes away all that. It's like a reset. I was going to say wash away the badness, but I don't think like a good, we had some sangria last night. I don't think it's badness. No, not at all. But I just feel like it's like a reset. You know what I mean? Any of that like sluggishness, longer to take to wake up, just get a good workout in the morning, and it's like I'm gonna have a better day.
Yeah, definitely. And we focus a lot about vacations, but the summer in general, vacation might be 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these themes carry on because, you know, there is more social events. There are more things where maybe you're dressing in clothes that you got a bit more skin out and you feel maybe a bit more self-conscious. So you can still apply the same concepts and still be thinking, right, well, I've got barbecue on Saturday, so I am going to like make sure I get a good night's sleep all week. I'm going to like stick with my healthy habits. And then on the day, just because it's barbecue, I'm not going to eat every single thing that's out on the table. I'm still going to like choose my protein, pick some stuff that's going to complement that from like the salads or whatever. I don't have to go mad because I'll feel really bloated and like uncomfortable after. And that was a real like shift for me, making those like social events not about the food.
Yeah.
So again, like I talked about with the vacation, like list out your priorities. If you can do that with the social events and be like, hey, is it about eating as many sausages as I can on the barbecue, or is it about catching up with friends? You don't need to go and fill your plate to a mountain full of food to enjoy the day.
Yeah.
And just being a bit more intentional to each of those social events through the summer can mean you don't get to the end of it like dreading the fact that you keep like every week you seem to have put on an extra pound. Like every weekend you're like, oh no, I've got this other thing I've got to go to. Just letting each one be like a slight step down on that scale of indulgence is really helpful.
I think, you know, like with our Body Smart graduates and when we catch up with them like a year later, 2 years later, and they're like, yeah, I'm still like maintaining my weight and I'm still like enjoying my life and living my best life. And it's like, amazing. You know what I mean? Like they had that season of really putting in the work, and everything that we're talking about here is like self-awareness. It's like knowing yourself, understanding your body, understanding your nutrition, understand when you want to indulge a bit more and pull back a little bit more, and just having that like balance towards it. And them going through that season of coaching and becoming a graduate really just puts them in the driving seat. And as I said, like when we come to these points of, you know, summer, it becomes like a worry of the past to an extent. And even to an extent, like I've had many clients go on a summer holiday and choose to indulge a lot more because they want to. And I'm 2 thumbs up to that. Like if that's what they want to do, like that's how they're going to enjoy more food, make more memories. Great. And they've come back and we're like, I'm 8 pounds heavier for a week. And I'm like, just get back to your normal routine. Within a week, 5 of that's come off. I'm like, you gained 2 pounds of fat. Did you have a great time? I'm like, you'll lose that in 2 weeks. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 2 pounds of fat for a lifetime of memories.
Yeah.
Come on, you know. It's
I also think going into those trips with the expectation matching your intended actions. So what I mean by that is if you go into the vacation thinking I'm going to enjoy all the local food and have like a couple of glasses of wine every night, and therefore I know the scale's going to be up at the end, it is a much better experience stepping on that scale because it's not taking you by surprise. It's not like, oh shit, now what do I even do? You went in with that almost being the planned outcome, and that's the actions you took led to that outcome. If you go in like kind of with your head in the sand and just like all sheets to the wind, or whatever the saying is, and then you get on the scale at the end and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's when it's an awful realization and you don't even know how to get yourself back out of that mess. But if you can just before you go decide, am I going to try and stick with maintenance calories?
Yeah.
And be content with that and expect that I'm still the same weight when I get back? Or am I going to say, do you know what? It's a holiday. I'm going to eat a bit more. I'm going to be a bit heavier when I get back. Fine.
Yeah.
And either way is perfectly valid, and you will feel so much happier either way if you've made it like a conscious choice.
Yeah, I think that's something like we haven't really touched on, which is we obviously have clients that while they're being coached and in a fat loss phase and are looking to lose weight, go on holiday, go on vacation. And some clients choose to go away and indulge like a lot. And that's an intentional choice that they make. And, you know, we'll still say, hey, keep up some of the healthier habits, exercise, drinking more water, you know, get your movement in, get your steps in, you know, try and get more protein in your diet. But yeah, enjoy yourself. That works for them. Some of them come back, bit of regret, went a bit too hard. Is what it is. You got to manage the expectations and move forward. Some people go away and, you know, actually don't want to lose the momentum that they've got. And that's like, cool, more power to you. How are we going to be more intentional on this trip? Like, you can still enjoy the trip without it being about completely overindulging on food every single day and alcohol. And some of those clients go and do that too and come back and keep that momentum going. That's the pace that they want to stay within. And again, there's no right or wrong way of going about it. I think it's just coming back to what you said. It's like truly being honest with what you're happy about, and what's going to mean a successful, happy trip for you too.
Yeah, definitely. And again, same with all the other stuff that comes with summer. More like weekends away, barbecues, celebrations, weddings. Like, just go into each one with a plan and an expected outcome that you're going to be happy with.
Yeah.
And write that list out of your priorities. How do you get back on track? Because you said about like, just get back to your healthy habits. Because I have had so many clients just not talk to me for a week when they get back. Because
right, yeah.
they've got on that scale and they've gone, oh, I don't want to tell Stacey. I'll message her once it's gone back down. And then they just don't talk to me until it's gone back down, which means they're struggling alone. But also, if I could get through to them, I'd be saying, hey, you don't even need to be going crazy to get that to come back down. Like, let's just go back to healthy habits.
Yep.
So how do you like hack that mind that just wants to just ignore it until it's better?
So if you were to look at pretty much anything that we do in life, the first couple of times that we start, turning the stones over something uncomfortable, it feels extremely uncomfortable. After you've done it 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, you just kind of expect the outcome. Like, you expect this to happen. So if you're really prioritizing your health, really paying more attention to the scales and losing weight and losing fat, and you go on holiday or vacation and you come back, and I've had many clients do this, and they've gained 7 or 8 pounds, it's natural to freak out and be like, what the fuck has happened? Like, that's a normal response for that to happen. However, it's the first time that this possibly is happening to you when you've still on a health journey or a weight loss journey. So, feeling like that is normal, and feeling uncomfortable about it to an extent is normal. What will happen for 90% of people is that I've got excess bloating from the flight, all the extra calories that you've had, all the extra carbohydrates and alcohol that you've had, your circadian rhythm being out of whack, which is your body clock. And just by a normal week of getting back into it, so like planning your workouts in, getting your steps in, getting back into a normal routine, going to bed and getting up at the same sort of time, just by giving it 1 week, you will probably almost definitely see somewhere between 50 to 80% of that weight come back off. Like, your body will just readjust and readapt. And what you'll be left with is a couple of extra pounds, possibly or not, of body fat that you've gained from the trip. But that week one, like, expect that to be different, because you've just had a complete change in food, diet, alcohol, circadian rhythms, just like all of it has changed. The flight. So you will likely come back and feel heavier, feel bloated. And that shock to the system is just because you're being more aware. Now, when that happens, if you sit in that and go through it and take those actions and then see, oh yeah, I gained 2 pounds, took me another 2 weeks to lose it, worth it for the trip. Cool, you have another trip in 6 months. You know it's going to happen again, because that's the choices that you come back. Shit, I'm 6 pounds up. Okay, right, back in, normal routine, get back on it, book the workouts in, make it happen. 5 pounds, and that goes in a week. Okay, cool. Second time's happened. Third time it happens. Don't really want it to happen, but it does keep happening. You do that 5 times, and it doesn't bother you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it literally does not bother you anymore, because you expect it to happen. It's normal. And if you don't want it to happen, what do you have to do? You have to change what a successful holiday looks like, or vacation. So I think it's just being okay with it being uncomfortable to begin with. There's loads of quotes, isn't there, about like, on the other side of fear and uncomfortableness is the life that you've always wanted. And, to an extent, if you want to stop freaking out about your holiday weight gain, you got to kind of sit in that for a while and a couple of times till it will over time become less.
Yeah, and face it for what it is, not ignore it and hope it's just going to get better. So yeah, top tips then, if somebody is in that kind of place where they're looking at the calendar, I've got 6 weeks to go, kind of feeling like I should do something, where would they start right now, today?
Where would they start right now, today? If you've got 6 weeks before your holiday, first thing you're going to want to do is work out your calorie goal. So as you said, bodysmartfitness.com, take our calorie quiz, get your calorie goal. Now you're going to want to track your calories meticulously. Most people get this between 50 and 100% wrong. So you believe you're eating 1,500 calories, you're probably eating somewhere between 2,250 and 3,000. Like that, people are that much out. And this is where a lot of people say, calorie deficit, but I'm not losing weight, which is impossible. It is not possible to happen. So knowing your calorie goal, tracking your food meticulously, so having a weigh-in scales, and making sure that everything that goes in your mouth, food or drink that has calories in, has been accounted for and tracked before you eat. That definitely helps in a lot of cases. Making sure you get adequate protein, which you'll get from our calorie quiz. You can even probably go a little bit higher than that if you wanted to, just for extra satiation and to burn a few extra calories. They're all really going to help. And then when it comes to your workouts, if you can get a couple of more workouts in that you've got the time to it, or you can increase your steps a couple of thousand a day, or do bigger walks on different days, again, it all helps. And if you've got something like a treadmill at home, like, yeah, just put an episode of Netflix on at the end of the day on your iPad or the phone and just watch your normal episode of Netflix at the end of the day, but do it while walking for 45 to 60 minutes. It will make a difference. Like, it will definitely make a difference. And over time, you'll be able to just, if you were to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week over that time, you lose 12 pounds of body fat in 6 weeks. That's a fucking lot. It really, really is. And just like, if you're looking to really lose more than that in that time, can it be done? Yes, is the answer. Would I advise it? Probably not if you want to. Probably not if you want to just be able to like live somewhat of a normal life. By normal life, I just mean like not thinking about food 24/7.
The other thing I would say is if you want to lose more than 12 pounds, there's probably bigger picture things going on that need to be shifted for the long term. It's not just a short term or just a couple of pounds type change.
No, it's not. If you need to lose more than 12 pounds in 12 weeks, I think just like if you were to lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks, that would be a great starting point. But look at that as a bigger picture goal instead of a lifestyle overhaul than you're losing 12 pounds for this trip.
For holiday.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah.
If you're looking for some help with that massive lifestyle overhaul and you want to get in the best physical and mental shape of your life, you can go over to bodysmartfitness.com to find out more about coaching, and you will be in the perfect hands with one of our coaches. They're not just going to get your nutrition and input in the best place, your movement in the best place possible, but they're really going to help you unpick some of those